What's going on, everyone? I hope you're having a good day. It's your boy JIC or Jicey, and today I have a very special video for you guys because it is a film review. And honestly, I've been wanting to make one of these for a while now because I love film and I love talking about it. And so I thought, why not add that to the channel? And so today's gonna be my first film review, which I hope you guys enjoy because I do plan on making a lot more in the near future. So be on the lookout for that and hopefully be excited for that. But without taking too much time, let's get started with the video. Now, it was a bit difficult to choose which movie to review, but I think I picked the perfect one to start the series off with. Now, I've been seeing a lot of ads for the new movie, The Matrix Resurrections, which will be coming out on December 22nd, 2021. And surprisingly, I haven't seen the original one, and so I thought maybe I can start the series off with that one. And so for today, we're going to be watching The Matrix, which came out in 1999. For today, I'm going to be giving you an initial reaction and a short plot summary, followed by a brief analysis and final review of the film. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, but now let's get on with the review. Alright, so right now I'm going to watch the movie in my living room. I got the movie queued up, I got my popcorn ready, I got my drink on my side. And so yeah, I'm just going to watch it and I'll be back with my initial review. Alright, so I just finished watching the movie and honestly I loved it. And I just gotta say I'm impressed, especially for it coming out in 1999 and it looking pretty good. The CGI was I'd say, right now just looking at it, first impressions, I'd say it was pretty good, and it does hold up. Alright, so it's been a couple days since I first saw the movie, and I got more time to analyze it, to get more familiar with the plot. And for this plot summary and analysis, I'm going to mix it together. And for this, I'm going to do it in 3 acts. So right now, we're going to start with Act 1. The film starts with a phone call between two people who we later know as Trinity and Cypher, and they're talking about having the possibility of finding the one. The phone call abruptly ends with Trinity thinking that the line is being traced. We then see a group of cops outside a building, and 3 men in suits arrive at the scene who we later know as agents. Legit after this, the film starts to show that it's no ordinary film, with going straight into the action and the introduction of bullet time, which are the slow motion sequences during the action fight scenes. A chase scene ensues with Trinity being chased by one of the agents, and right here we start to see that both of them are not normal and that there's something different about this world, with both of them showing some form of superhuman athleticism. The chase scene ends with Trinity escaping and the agents pretty much confirming that their informant or mole is real and that their next target is someone called Neo. After this, we get a shot of the breathtaking Keanu Reeves as he is sleeping and awakened by a message from his computer saying to follow the white rabbit. In this film, Keanu Reeves' character lives 2 lives, one as Thomas Anderson, who lives a pretty normal life, and the other as Neo, a hacker and someone who has committed several cybercrimes. Throughout the rest of the first act, the plot is slowly introduced, with Neo being arrested by the agents and even meeting Morpheus for the first time, who tells him that he's actually a slave to the world he's living in because it's not real. Morpheus then gives him a big decision to make, to either take the blue pill or the red pill. With the blue pill, Neo will wake up and continue to live a normal and mundane life, but with the red pill, he will get to live in Wonderland and see how far the rabbit hole goes. Ultimately, Neo chooses the red pill and is awakened in the real world, where he is rescued by Morpheus and his crew. I think this is where the first act ends, and I know I left out a couple things here and there, but I think I perfectly summed it up and kind of showed the parts where several motifs were planted here and there. For example, the illusion of Neo being like a Christ-like figure, with him being called the One. Even his client from earlier in the film calls him his own personal Jesus Christ and his savior, which I thought was pretty on the nose, but it does show how important and special Neo is to this universe. Another thing about the film are the Alice in Wonderland references, with Neo being told to follow the white rabbit, and even being called Alice by Morpheus, who even tells him that he gets to stay in Wonderland if he were to take the red pill. However, one motif or theme that I noticed and I didn't think was too obvious was related to Neo's decision making. Everyone remembers the red and blue pill scene, and honestly, from when I was watching it a couple more times, I saw that Neo was also given decisions earlier in the film which had their own pair of red and blue pills. One example is at the very beginning, when the client that he's selling illegal software to asks him to go out with him and his group to a nightclub out, and Neo initially decides no, which I thought was in a way taking the blue pill because he was choosing to stay inside and just wake up the next day and go to work. However, if Neo were to say yes, then he's essentially taking the red pill because he's accepting a different approach to life and going out and doing something different, which in a way was seeing his world at the time. I feel like this motif was also seen throughout other parts of the film, especially where he decides to not escape through the scaffolding or even almost gets out of the car before meeting Morpheus. With all these decisions, he was pretty much picking the normal way of doing things and returning to his normal life, rather than checking out the adventurous one and seeing where it might take him. However, he does choose the quest for the truth later on when he chooses the red pill, and although it was his decision, he was pretty influenced by Morpheus and Trinity into taking this one by giving him some answers but not the complete picture. I thought this was pretty interesting since it seems that Neo wasn't exactly ready to move on from the Matrix and into the real world, which, I mean, it had to happen since it was his fate, or at least it seems like he is working towards becoming the one. I thought this one was pretty interesting since Neo was given multiple times to choose the more adventurous or different type of way of doing things, but essentially chooses the normal way of doing things. But I think I'm going to stop here, and so we can move on to the second act where these motifs and themes are also seen in this part of the movie. The second act starts with Neo waking up from his rehabilitation, and Morpheus tells him that it's not 1999 and is actually closer to the year 2199. Morpheus then introduces Neo to his crew of his hovering ship, the Nebuchadnezzar. The crew consists of Trinity, Switch, APOC, Tank, Dozer, Cypher, and Mouse. After the introductions, Morpheus and Neo enter a computer program where Morpheus tells Neo about the truth of what happened in the real world. He explains that humans had developed some AI, artificial intelligence, and lost control of it, in which they later waged war with the program. As a result, humans blocked out the sun in order to eliminate any energy source that the robots may need to survive. However, the robots figured out that humans give off energy in their bodies, and so they created the Matrix in order to keep the humans in a dream world while they take over the real world, using them as batteries for their power. Later on, Morpheus tells Neo about the man who freed the first human minds and eventually died at some point, but the Oracle had prophesied his return. Later on, Tank tells Neo about a city of free human minds called Zion, which is the only city in the real world. He also helps Neo in his training by downloading programs such as Jiu-Jitsu and Kung Fu in his mind. The rest of the second act consists of Morpheus training Neo and pretty much his whole journey into becoming the One, which is pretty ironic since at the end of the first act, Neo tells Morpheus that he doesn't really believe in fate. During the training, Morpheus continues to tell Neo that he is the One and that he's special since he's the only one that can bend or even break the rules in the Matrix. To continue with the training, Neo has to complete a jump test where he has to jump from one roof of a building to the other one that is across the street. However, Neo fails this test, and some people in the crew are even doubting if Neo is actually the One. In addition, this is where it is revealed that if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life. Morpheus also informs Neo about the agents and that they're a part of the Matrix and are able to transform themselves into anyone that's still stuck in the Matrix, pretty much saying that anyone is a potential threat. Another thing that is introduced are the Sentinels, which, like the agents, are programmed to detect humans and destroy them, but the Sentinels are in the real world rather than the Matrix. Also, another thing we find out is that Cypher is actually betraying the group since he is making a deal with Agent Smith in order to give him Morpheus in exchange for a return into the Matrix with his memory wiped, basically saying that ignorance is bliss. This revelation will play out soon since Morpheus says it's time for Neo to meet the Oracle, who is located in the Matrix. When meeting the Oracle, she tells Neo that he is not the One, but he will have to make an important decision, and it will involve saving his own life or Morpheus's life. I will say that the second act ends here since this act focuses on Neo's journey and acceptance as the One and achieving the power and the role that comes with it. However, when he does meet the Oracle, he believes in her statements and is already not believing in himself, which gives him secondhand embarrassment or disappointment on Morpheus's behalf, and later he will have to decide whether to choose between himself or Morpheus. The allusions to Jesus Christ are still present, with Cypher even becoming the Judas of this story by betraying his group, Morpheus and Neo, in exchange for a better life. However, what I found pretty ironic was that at the end of Act 1, Neo tells Morpheus that he doesn't really believe in fate and wants to take control of his own life. However, throughout the second act, he pretty much does whatever Morpheus tells him and believes in him or follows him, even though Morpheus is telling him that he's part of some prophecy, which is based on fate and pretty much saying you're part of something bigger and you really can't control it, which I thought was pretty ironic since Neo doesn't really believe in all that stuff but is still sticking around and listening to Morpheus. That's pretty much what I have to say about the second act, so let's get started on the third one. Obviously, for the third act, the story is about to approach its end, and stuff that was formulated or made during the first act or second act are being resurfaced or even taking effect in this final one. Another thing to mention though is that this act is very action-packed, which is pretty good because now we get to finally see Neo fighting someone other than just training with Morpheus. The third act starts off with the crew back at the abandoned building and Neo experiencing some deja vu, which Trinity says that means there has been a glitch in the Matrix and that something has been changed. Earlier, before leaving the Oracle, we saw Cypher plant a phone in a trash can near the building, and so that alerted the agents of their location, which gave them enough time to set a trap while they were gone. As a result, Mouse is killed by the SWAT team and Morpheus sacrifices his life in order to prevent Neo from getting captured by Agent Smith. Cypher is separated from the group but is able to make it to the Nebuchadnezzar before them, and when he arrives there, he is able to shoot Tank and Dozer and take control as operator. As he reveals his betrayal to Trinity, he is able to kill APOC and Switch by unplugging them, and even threatens to kill Neo, but fortunately, Tank was only injured and was able to stop Cypher from killing them and pretty much kills Cypher and frees Neo and Trinity. In the Matrix, though, Agent Smith was able to capture Morpheus and pretty much tells him he's going to torture him in order to get Zion's access codes. And during this interrogation and torture scene, he tells Morpheus that humanity is pretty much a failure and that they're unable to handle happiness. Back on the Nebuchadnezzar, the surviving three realize that in order to save Zion, they must kill Morpheus by unplugging him in order to prevent Agent Smith from getting the access codes. However, fortunately, Neo decides that he can save Morpheus by going back in and fighting off the agents, which Trinity also volunteers to go with him. And I think this is very important because this is the second biggest decision that Neo makes in the film. It's at this point that Neo is starting to take control of his life, which is pretty ironic since this decision pretty much seals his fate as the One, since he's going back to save Morpheus, which Morpheus knew what would happen. We then see Agent Smith telling Morpheus that humans are a virus and that he actually wants to leave the Matrix because he just can't stand it there, and that his only way out is to destroy all of humanity. And obviously this is pretty ironic or very interesting since no one wants to be in the Matrix, not even the Think program to defend it. In the meantime though, Neo and Trinity arrive at the lobby and kill all the guards in an awesome action sequence, which I highly recommend and honestly is a pretty good reason for you to watch the film. They then go up an elevator while setting off a bomb and reach the roof where they have to fight off several SWAT team members. Agent Smith is told about the rescue team of Neo and Trinity, and one of the agents actually transforms into the helicopter pilot's body that is on the roof in order to fight off Neo and Trinity. And so Neo shoots him, but he's able to dodge all the bullets at superhuman speed. And so when Neo is getting shot at by the agent, fortunately he's able to dodge it as well. And we see that through bullet time, which is the famous scene where he's on his back and is able to dodge the bullets. Trinity is able to stop the agent from killing Neo and asks Tank to download a B-212 helicopter flying program in her mind in order for her and Neo to fly off the building. And in doing so, they reach the floor that Morpheus is on and are able to shoot the guards but not kill them because they're able to shift into another person's body. Neo's able to save Morpheus, but while they're flying away, they have to ditch the helicopter since the agents were able to shoot the gas tank, and so it's going down. Fortunately, Neo and Morpheus are able to get off and make it safely on a rooftop, but Trinity's still stuck on there. But Neo's able to save her by reeling her in with a rope that was attached to him. Morpheus tells Neo that he is the One and that the Oracle only said what he needed to hear. They are then able to escape to a subway station that has a payphone that they can escape the Matrix through. Morpheus and Trinity are able to leave, but Neo is stuck behind to fight Agent Smith, who was able to shift into a homeless man's body that saw the trio trying to leave through the payphone. A fight scene ensues with both Neo and Agent Smith able to dominate one another in certain parts of the fight. However, Neo starts to believe in himself, which gives him the confidence to start fighting Agent Smith and even overcome him at some parts in the fight. Unfortunately though, Agent Smith does start to win and even pins Neo down at the train tracks, in which he says, "Goodbye, Mr. Anderson." But then Neo says that his name is Neo and is able to get out of there in time before the train runs him over. Agent Smith is then run over but is able to shift into another person's body, and another chasing ensues with the other agents even joining in by trying to shift into other people's bodies in order to get a good shot at Neo. While this happens in the Matrix, the Sentinels are actually getting close to the Nebuchadnezzar and are about to infiltrate it. And the way that they're going to fight against it is using an EMP, which was introduced early in the film, but in order for it to go off, they need Neo to leave the Matrix. Tank tells Neo that there's another phone he can escape through, and it's located in the building that was at the beginning of the film. And so when Neo and the agents get there, Agent Smith knows which room he's going to and is able to beat him before he gets to the room. Therefore, when Neo enters the room, he is shot at by Agent Smith and pronounced dead by another agent. Trinity tells Neo's body in the real world that the Oracle had told her that she will fall in love with the One, and so with this, she kisses Neo and he is resurrected. Neo achieves even greater power and is able to stop bullets with his mind and effortlessly fight Agent Smith while also seeing the code that makes the Matrix. Neo then jumps into Agent Smith's body and blows him up, which allows him to leave the Matrix in time before the EMP goes off. The film ends with Neo talking to someone, perhaps the Matrix itself, since he says that he's going to expose them and save humanity. We then see Neo flying to the sky as the credits come in. There is definitely a lot to say about this film, and there are different approaches to the theories and themes behind it. However, some that I do want to mention are that it's a commentary on capitalism, or even a reference or modern telling of Plato's allegory of the cave. But I think the most interesting and most important one is that The Matrix is a film about being transgender. At the time of the film's release, the directors were known as the Wachowski brothers, and they were both male. However, since the film's release, both have come out as trans women and are even approached by fans saying how important The Matrix was to the trans community, which is honestly very wholesome and great to see that cinema can help someone go through something very life-changing and, help someone find how they truly feel. In addition, since the film's release, there has been a clear influence it's had on other films and even remaining a staple in modern pop culture. After watching the film a couple times, I can definitely see why it has a massive cult following and why it's considered one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. The plot was very interesting and very engaging, and the storytelling, while confusing at some times, was very easy to follow throughout most of the film. Personally, I thought this was well executed since we're viewing the movie through Neo's perspective, who is supposed to be confused at the beginning, but obviously later on figuring out how things are working in order to step up and become the One. So I thought it was pretty good what they did in the storytelling for this film. The characters for the most part were well written, and the idea of people living in a simulation and not even knowing about it was pretty heavy, and I can definitely see why it was very popular during the turn of the century, and even why some people even still reference that saying to today in 2021. Overall, I still think the film is pretty great, and I actually hold it in higher regard since my initial viewing, since I've come to learn other things about it. I honestly recommend that you watch the film if you haven't and are into sci-fi films. And if you've already seen it, I would say watch it again because it does deserve a rewatch and does still hold up in 2021. I'm giving this film a strong 9 out of 10, I would say, and I had a lot of fun watching this and reviewing it and just talking about it. Let me know what you guys thought about The Matrix and whether or not you guys liked it in the comments below. I will be reading them and just want to see if other people agree with me or even disagree with me on The Matrix. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, since I do plan on making a lot more in the near future. For now, I haven't really figured out the next movie I'm going to do, but I do have a couple in mind. I'm just not sure which one I should actually start doing this with. But as always, everyone, keep it peaceful, stay safe, and have a good one.